Right, so I want to talk through my marathon tapering that I did when I ran my marathon PB of 2:24 in London. If you don't know me, my name is Patrick Martin, and in April of this year I ran the London Marathon in 2 hours 24 minutes and 31 seconds at the age of 42, and I'd only been running for 3.5 years at the time. So yeah, I ran that 2:24, and the tapering I did before it I think was really, really important. I actually think that tapering is quite a personal thing in a lot of ways, because everyone's training's different, everyone's rest's different. Before that marathon, I was running 100-mile weeks. I wasn't having much rest. I needed to give myself a fair amount of rest before the marathon, so I had energy, so I could perform better. In this video, I want to talk about what did work for me, and I'm going to jump onto my computer now onto Strava, and I'll then just talk you through what I did. So here I am in my Strava account, and I've taken you up to 2 weeks before the London Marathon in April, and you can see that my last long run was here. So we're talking 13 days before the marathon. That was a 35k run, and I wanted to do that 13 days before, or roughly 13 or 14 days before, just because it then gave me enough time to recover from that. Some people like to maybe run a bit of a longer run a week before, or even 3 weeks before. For me, I found that it works, 2 weeks before works really well, and it gave me enough time then to like I say, to recover. Then I carried on running twice a day in the week before the marathon week. So this is 13 days before, this is 12 days before, 11 days before, 10 days before, and you can see I was running, for example, 14 kilometers in the morning, and then 9.8, roughly 10 kilometers in the evening, and it was still a 178 kilometer week, so it's over 100 miles for that week, and that's the week before marathon week. So I still kept my mileage pretty high in the week before the marathon week. The only thing that really changed, I think, is I didn't run a long run on the Sunday. Normally I'd run a long run on the Sunday, but I didn't do that. That's exactly a week before the marathon. But then getting into marathon week, that's when it changed quite a bit for me. I really started to reduce the mileage down. So you can see here on the Monday of the marathon week, just a 14k run, and because I was running twice a day really every week in the lead up to marathon week, this was really a big reduction for me. So going down to just running once a day, these kind of mileages, it was a big reduction, and I did feel the difference. I felt my energy levels starting to pick up. I started to feel like less tired, less fatigue, and then I only had one rest day, and that rest day was on the Friday before the race on the Sunday. I felt like I needed to run on the day before the race. I felt like I needed just to keep my legs fresh on the day before the race, so I ran a roughly 10k run on the morning before the race, just so I got my legs turning over. It was a 3:55 per kilometre run, so fairly like a steady-ish pace for me. I think most of these runs in the marathon week were steady-ish pace, and the reason I kept these running at a fairly steady-ish pace in the week before the marathon is because I was slightly concerned about losing a bit of fitness. I know it's debatable whether I lose fitness in the marathon week, but I just wanted to keep things ticking over and keep that fitness there. For me, if I ran a long run on a 35k run 13 days before and then really didn't do much in the week before, I'd feel like I was losing a bit of fitness. So I wanted to keep that fitness there in the week before the marathon. And by doing this, I just felt like when I woke up on marathon day, I felt really fresh. I felt really ready to go. I hadn't done too little and I hadn't done too much. It was just the right amount, and I had enough energy there. And that rest day really helped, because I don't have too many rest days, but that one really really did do the trick too. And I don't think I would have liked to have a rest day the day before the marathon. I think, like I say, keeping it a couple of days before really helped. You know, I knew on the day of the marathon, when I woke up, I knew I got it right because I felt full of energy, I felt fresh, and I felt ready to go. And got in the training before the marathon in the weeks and months before, I really didn't feel fresh. I was running so much, I was really pushing myself. But I definitely got the taper right in the days leading up to the marathon. So that's what made me think, okay, this works well for me. And then running the time I did, which I wasn't expecting, again, that it proves that taper worked really well for me. I think the days leading up to the race are crucially important. Sometimes they get overlooked a bit, but I think in terms of like conserving energy, those 3 or 4 days in the lead up to the race are super important. I don't mean just running, I mean in everyday life, whatever you're doing. If you can just conserve as much energy as you possibly can in those 3 or 4 days before the marathon, I think you're going to run a lot better. I know, especially for me on the actual day before the marathon, I was really careful about what I did. So I in the morning of the day before, I got up early. I went for a 10k run, as I showed earlier, and then I got the train up to London. I went to the expo where I got my number for the race. Went straight to the hotel, didn't mess around in the expo at all, went straight to the hotel and pretty much just stayed in the hotel the whole of the rest of the day and just lay there on the bed watching TV. So I knew that I just wanted to conserve as much energy as possible. Getting up and wandering around London and doing various things is not the right thing to do. So I just pretty much lay there eating and again, felt good in the next day when I woke up in the morning. I felt like I was fresh because I hadn't been wandering around or doing much of anything, and my body had just conserved that energy. And yeah, I think another really important thing is to go for a run in your racing shoes, the shoes you're going to race in the week or 2 weeks before the race. I mean, not every run, but just a couple of runs, just to make sure that you're used to those shoes and that they're still comfortable for you. It might have been a while before you did the last race, but sometimes you can take it for granted that, oh yeah, these shoes are fine, but sometimes it's just not. And it's also just good to get your body used to them. And I hardly ever run in my racing shoes apart from on the races, and I get so used to another pair of shoes that sometimes it can be a bit of a change. So it's good just to get used to a new pair of shoes, a different pair of shoes as well. And especially if the pair of shoes you got for your race are brand new, you definitely want to kind of break them in the weeks before the race. You definitely don't want to be running in a brand new pair of shoes. And that's why I always feel like I want to try and limit all the unknowns in the race. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you found the video enjoyable. Thanks so much.